Action.
Creation of new knowledge is very important, because then you are able to contribute to not only the development of the nation but also towards the development of the human race. We exist because our learners are there. Tomorrow, if there is no learner, even with our research, where will we go? What will we do? And you are the avatar of somebody, some leader, and taking decision right there. New learning, new piece of information. Just like love and happiness, learning can never be absolute. So how we learn to walk, you have a young boy, so you must have seen the boy developing into, from a toddler to a boy.
Correct.
So how one part of the body he uses to take support to stand a little more, maybe for a longer period. The great scholars and educators will tell you that in this lifetime, at least, you never become an expert of anything.
That is.
Right? So, like you said, observe your learners. Observation is the key.
Great, Lopa. I think we have had a lot of casual conversations here in IIMB, but it's like the first time that we are getting into talking about learning and teaching and things like that.
Yeah.
So maybe a quick introduction about you before going forward. Yeah.
Okay. I'm Lopamudra, currently leading the Center for Teaching and Learning at IIM Bangalore. And we are essentially looking at making teaching effective, especially in the higher educational space. But we would also not deny the fact that to make teaching and learning effective at the higher educational space, the journey starts from the school education itself. Maybe a time will come when we will look more closely at school education as well, and we will be able to bridge the gap that exists between the school education and higher education. But of course, currently the focus is primarily on higher educational teaching practices. And if I can talk about our aspiration, then it's definitely to emerge as a think tank as well in the country, and also at a global level, so that we can also contribute towards the making of effective and meaningful, educational policies.
So what do you mean by higher education? So when you are working on higher education, what does that mean?
So education that takes place once we complete school education, that essentially qualifies as higher education.
Okay.
We may want to look at higher education from the point, when we start masters and then go for research, PhD and all of that. But technically, if I have to define, then it is the education you take after finishing your school education.
Okay, but how do you do it? So when you're saying that you're working with higher education, are you directly working with students, or is it you're working with faculties?
Okay.
What is how do you impact the higher education?
We are essentially working with the faculty members.
Okay.
We are still not into the regular teaching learning practices that take place in higher educational institutions. But we are working and collaborating with educators, with academia, with faculty members, and trying to arrive at an understanding that what can make teaching more effective. They are already doing a wonderful job.
Okay.
But it is our endeavor to, help them out in, making it all the more better.
Okay. So, let's imagine a faculty who is coming at the getting to started with the journey with the teaching and learning experience.
Yes.
What would be the difference? What is the starting point for them while entering the system? What would be the first starting point? How do you approach? What is the first step that you take for them to give this understanding of teaching and learning beyond what they are already doing? I'm sure they are going and teaching and they're doing their lecture, maybe doing some discussions.
Yeah.
So what is the starting point that you do?
At this point, we do not really, Diljit, try to teach them anything which is theoretical.
Okay.
Because we do not have so much time. And we really want to reach out to more number of faculty members and people teaching in the higher education space. So we have decided to provide them with practical solutions,
Mm.
something that they can learn as part of FDP on our campus during the program days, can go back and apply immediately.
Mm.
So it's all very practical in nature,
Mm.
not separate from or separated from theory, but we do not really focus on theoretical approaches.
Okay, that's interesting. So when you mean practical, can you give an example of what a practical scenario may be, and then maybe we can dwell into various practical scenarios when a faculty come, and what are the experiences that they will go through?
Yeah, very good question. So this question is probably always there in our mind, but we never really discussed in length and in detail, and I'm glad that you are asking me this question. Suppose I'll take the example of one of the sessions we had recently during one of our doctoral consortiums. And this doctoral consortium we do for doctoral scholars who are, the budding educators, budding faculty members.
These are PhDs who are just finishing.
Just finishing, yeah, who are in the concluding stage of their PhD journey. So when we talk to them for making or about making teaching effective, we tell them about how their body posture should be. Now, how they can, when they are introducing a topic, what are the various possible methods that they can apply? So the topic may remain probably the same, but the delivery style could be different. It can be experiential learning. It can be plain lecture based. It can be project based also. It can be experimental as well.
Okay.
Right. So when we are, bringing before them all kinds of methodologies, teaching methodologies that are available in today's time, we also bring before them examples. And, we have such wonderful faculty members here who also demonstrate how a particular methodology is to be not only imbibed, but also used in a class, case teaching for that matter, experiential learning for that matter. Like I was mentioning about one such example, we did experiential learning in the class. And after the introduction of the topic, we also did role play. So as a faculty, when you are introducing experiential learning, how can you, or at what point you would like to bring in simulation or role play in the class? What all preparations are required if at all you are planning to teach something through experiential learning? So we demonstrate. Like I said, it's all very practical.
So how, I mean, like for a doctoral student, they should be really, they wouldn't have any experience potentially teaching, right? So how do you incorporate this experiential learning, or what are the methods that you use so that they get to actually know it? Do they try it out in the sessions, or do they have to go and teach in the class, and how do they do it?
Yeah, we do provide a platform to them as part of which they get to apply some of these methodologies in the class before their peers. That's one. And also before our faculty mentors and observers. The idea behind this exercise is not to check how much they have understood or how much they can apply, but it's about giving them that opportunity as part of which if at all they want to use a particular methodology, they can try it out. And it's a safe zone.
Great.
What may work, what may not work. These are a few delicate understandings which we feel they can acquire only if they get an opportunity to practice before us what they have, heard in the class, what they have seen in the class.
This could be also because you don't think there is a right way or wrong way,
yes,
right?
Absolutely.
And each faculty members or
you got it.
they will have their own style of delivering.
Yes.
But just to go deeper into a doctoral student, right? What are the biggest challenge? I mean, you would have worked with so many doctoral students right now. And what is the biggest challenge that they find before going from, I mean, like before getting into this teaching journey? What are the challenges that you have found common in all these doctoral students?
Okay. Firstly, they are prolific scholars, good researchers. And I think you also cannot separate research from teaching. because creation of new knowledge is very important, because then you are able to contribute to not only the development of the nation but also towards the development of the human race. So you have to constantly strive for making new knowledge system and telling the world about it. And research allows you to gather relevant data, relevant input, and information which supports the new knowledge system that you're trying to build. But when you are in front of your learners, you have to present it in a manner which is easy to comprehend, which is not always so data driven and loaded with information, right? That could be challenging for the newly doctoral scholars. And the whole act of teaching becomes great when you are also able to simplify things, and you are not there in the class to demonstrate your expertise or your hold over a topic, but to ensure that your learners are able to understand what is happening around them. So the purpose probably changes the moment you move or shift from being a researcher to being an academic.
It's a very interesting topic, right? I mean, usually when you see people, they will be looking at either I'm doing research or I'm doing teaching. All right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of when you have a conversation with them, you will usually see there's a separation between both.
Yes.
So what I understand from the conversation is that there is a huge interlinking between the research and how do you simplify it into a teaching experience. So how do they do that? I mean, what are your recommendation for some teacher who is doing great research and wants to start teaching teaching that research subject effectively, right? It needs to be simplified and things like that, and usually they tend to complicate it, right? So what is your few learnings or things that you can share that will help a faculty to simplify their research and communicate effectively?
These are all my understanding around what constitutes learning. Now, research is a big domain. You need to understand as a researcher what constitutes research, what makes a good research, etc., etc. In the same manner, one needs to understand what is learning. We exist because our learners are there. Tomorrow, if there is no learner, even with our research, where will we go? What will we do? So that I see as a higher goal in the life of an academic. When we decide to pursue research, we, of course, have love for, say, a topic or for a discipline, for an area. But we also cannot deny that we somewhere also have this love for teaching. Now, teaching is not preaching. The outcome of teaching, if we start looking at as learning, then I think a lot of changes will take place automatically, internally. Now, let me talk a little about what I think could be learning. I essentially like to put learning into two major brackets. As part of one bracket, you can term it as experiential, participant-centric, right? Inquiry-based. And the moment you call learning experiential, participant-centric, you are not sticking to fixed learning outcomes.
Okay.
Right?
That's interesting. So can you break that down? What does it mean by not? Because usually when we start, we fix the learning outcomes, right?
Yes.
For the learners.
Yeah.
So what does it mean?
I'll talk about the other part as well, which is almost like a juxtaposed position. And as part of which you create a standardized format.
Okay.
And when you have a very standardized way of teaching, curriculum comes into the picture, then evaluation comes into the picture, outcomes are also fixed, like you just mentioned. What is happening in today's time, it is just my observation again, is that we are trying hard to blend the two, experiential and what is the common practice, which is the standardized form of teaching and getting an outcome from our learners. And then in the process, we are making experiential also standardized. Is it possible to
Can
make
we?
everyone go through the same kind of experience? Is life like that? No.
No. Yeah.
And so the outcome of life can also not be the same.
Okay.
So, when our new budding educators are going in front of their learners, and if at all they are deciding that they would like to, blend the two, experiential as well as what is standardized. Now, both have its own benefits. In one way, in the experiential way, participants are able to design their own learning chart. What I should learn, because I feel I do not want to learn math because my mind is towards philosophy, towards understanding society. So even if the experience is same, if you put them for a project, observations will be different. One will look at it from the number of households, say, they have interviewed. So it is very number specific. Whereas there will be some learners who would like to look at the nature of responses they are getting from the participants, the composition of households, why there is a craving for having more boys in the families, So this is just an example, don't take me otherwise, but what I'm saying is that what I would want for myself, I should be able to decide, and should not that be the purpose of experiential learning?
Okay. So even though the learning outcomes are defined, there is a bit of flexibility in terms of how the experience of the learner happened. And that cannot be defined.
That cannot be defined.
So there is, traditionally we are like, okay, these are the learning outcomes, these are the things learners have to go through. So here you are also focusing on, even though you are defining it, there is a flexibility for the faculties to drive the journey so that all this other experience are also considered, right? I mean, you made this interesting statement, teaching is not preaching, right? I mean, even you say that, most of the time teaching gets into preaching mode.
Yes.
Right? I mean, would you like to, in your experience, what have you seen? I mean, when does that shift happen from preaching to teaching, or bringing this learning experience for the faculties?
I think it's a it's a long struggle that I think every teacher has been facing, because a lot of them, especially the good ones, would never want to preach. But the moment you start thinking about the standardized formats, I think preaching comes automatically, because you want your learners to really deliver certain outcomes. And it becomes, unavoidable, right? But I think when you let your learners discover learning on their own, it remains teaching. And when you tell your learners that A plus B becomes this, it should not become something else, because then you will not get marks from me. You are to a great extent preaching. And
whichever school education is primarily, if I put it, it's kind of, even now, even though it's a bit of driven by preaching,
we are changing. We are changing a lot. And I think, we have reached a point where both the school education sector and the higher education sector should now discuss more that how to blend, like I said before, how to blend experiential learning and standardized way of looking at learning. And then they will be able to reduce this whole thing about preaching to a great extent.
So does it mean, when you are doing an experiential learning, does it mean that there is no measurement for the learning outcomes, or is it really fluid, or how do you measure some of the experiential learning? You will need to measure something, right, to see whether somebody has achieved something or not.
So actually measuring outcome makes it complicated. The moment you start measuring outcomes as part of experiential learning, you gradually drag it towards standardized format.
Okay.
If you ask me, I would like to measure enthusiasm level.
Okay.
Yeah, when a learner is going through the experiential learning process. I would like to measure the innovativeness. Right?
Okay.
I would like to measure, the activities he or she is involved in. So maybe these are the things which I would like to measure. But what kind of remarks I will give as part of the measurement that I'm doing, or evaluation maybe that I'm doing. It cannot be score driven. It cannot be marks driven. It has to be qualitative, which also means that, because I'm also not a preacher, right? As a teacher now, I'm observing my learners closely and I'm observing my each learner's learning journey, right? So Diljit and Lopa may start from the same point, may start with the same set of instructions in mind, but eventually they will go different, in different ways. And as a learner, it becomes my duty to see what Diljit is doing to eventually carve out his learning journey and what Lopa is doing. And it should be my qualitative remark.
Okay.
I am measuring, but I am not measuring to give scores, to give numbers.
But how do you expect a faculty to do? It's a bit difficult, right?
It is difficult,
How do you
Yeah,
do that?
yeah, it is
Practically,
difficult,
I'm a faculty and I will have maybe, let's say 30 is a good number of students that we are teaching, and then you're definitely teaching multiple classes.
Yeah.
So how do you get this process on the way? Like if you want to give, like I'm going as a faculty and I want to give this experiential learning for the learners. So how should I be mindful about it in terms of getting
So a lot of progressive schools and also higher educational institution like ours have started giving importance to the participation aspect in their classes. And essentially when you talk about methodologies like case teaching, case discussions, role play, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of importance is given to how they are participating in the class. Maybe eventually they will all end up giving marks, because we are not doing away with standardized formats. But there is still a component which allows them to let their learners participate in the class. So they are looking at participation. They are looking at the innovative questions they are able to ask in the class.
Interesting.
So that becomes important.
No, so I mean, if I may just conclude some of the discussions, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, if I understand right, it is a combination of standardization and experiences a bit.
Effective teaching should be a combination. That's what we are trying to do. We haven't reached a point where we can really conclude by saying that yes, effective teaching is only the combination of these two, but we feel it should be a combination of these two, right?
So there is some bit of standardization and some bit of experience, and that experience part is very important, as I understand, so that the learners get a feel and they can discover their own path. And I think the discover part is very important, that you say, which actually differentiates between teaching and preaching. I mean, that's very interesting thing. And can we go a bit deeper into inquiry-based? You were using the word inquiry-based learning. So is it the same as experience-based learning, or is it they are asking questions to you?
These are all interrelated.
Okay.
Now, there are again various theories about experiential learning, about inquiry-based learning, project-based learning. Kolb's theory is there. But you cannot again separate them, because I essentially as an educator would like to put them all in one bracket. And I feel they complement each other. Right?
So I feel they complement even the inquiry, exploration and all that, and you create an experience around
certain theories will tell you that you have to start with step A and then you should go to step B, then C and so on. But I think it's good to see them all as interrelated and as something which can be seen as one category of learning.
An experience. And if I understand, the faculties will have to derive their own way of doing this in their own style.
Yes.
What are the different styles? I mean, especially you worked with a lot of IIMB faculty members, right?
Yeah.
What are some effective styles that you have seen in terms of delivering the content? I'm sure we have case-based study as one of the methods.
Yeah, I was about to talk about that. In management institutions, case-based methodologies are important. But we have also started realizing that the importance of lectures you can't ignore.
Okay.
So there should be also some piece of information or knowledge which as a faculty as a, precondition to what they are going to discover must provide in the class. So the core definitions, the core features of something, core aspects, right? You have to give some input, some concrete material before the class, before you break them into maybe groups for various activities.
Again, we are coming back to standardization.
Exactly. So how do you play around, blend the two? So we have started realizing that lecture method is equally effective. In fact, I think we all are the products of lecture methods. But what we are doing right now is also guided by the experiences we have had as individuals, isn't it? School education was probably the same, even if you were maybe good in math and I was good in social science. I'm just assuming we still appeared for same sets of exams, completed graduation, masters, and other levels of education. But then what we are doing today, or what we ended up doing in life essentially, has been the result of experiences.
Correct.
Right? It has been the outcome of how we have started analyzing things. Right? And that scope, our at least in IIMs and IITs, and also in central universities, I'm a product of a central university. So, that scope is expanding. But yes, even when you start with something which is slightly informal and experiential, you may want to still close your classes and courses and programs with some standardized
So that's
tests.
a skill that the faculty has to evolve over the time. What are the different examples that you have seen within IIMB faculty? They use different methods, right?
Yeah. So case teaching, like you said, is one method. I see, of course, lecture-based, you cannot ever,
ignore
it. A lot of simulation, role play.
What is simulation and role play? I mean, simulation, the word itself is too big, right?
Yeah, it
so
is
what does it mean?
too big.
What does it mean to have a simulation in a class?
So it is not exactly role play, but it is also about presenting the scenarios in the class. What happens in case teaching is that the scenario is in a document, right? On a piece of paper. But in case of simulation, it is in front of your eyes in the form of, as if you are living that experience.
Can you give an example of one case-based teaching and one
simulation?
Many of them wouldn't even know what a case-based learning or simulation is.
If I pick up negotiation, then there could be a case where, the whole content is moving around negotiation and how a leader,
the entire
worked
story of that
around it, and there was a decision dilemma, and negotiation was the only solution, or maybe one of the solutions, and what he or she did, that could be the case content.
And that case is given to the students?
Given to the students, either before the class or maybe during the class. Then the discussion happens, what he could have done better, and so it's based on what you have read. It's still very document based, right? The moment you convert it into a simulation, you present all the options before the leader. So you become that leader with dilemma, and then there are people who are playing the role of, for example, you are trying to arrive at an agreement with two more parties, right? To give stability to your company's financial condition, and then market reputation, branding, etc. You would put them in that situation in the class, and you will experience that person, the whole dilemma aspect.
So how is it individual or group, or how does that work?
Mostly group activity. Now it requires a lot of preparation. What happens in case of role play is that role play is also to a great extent fixed in nature. It's like a theatrical, thing that, this is what you have to depict. But in simulation, outcome can still be different.
You are talking about offline simulations, right?
Offline, exactly.
Usually we get to
correct.
simulation.
Yeah. So I think when you, if I have to put it in your language, then maybe in your programs, when you put before them various possible options, or maybe solutions to a problem, and you let them choose with a logic in mind, it is an act of simulation, because case will tell you most likely what that person did, and the discussion will flow around what he could not have done or should have done, etc.
Sure.
But in case of simulation, he's practically,
In it.
applying that.
And so which scenarios do you think, I mean, like if I understand, the implementation of case-based study is a bit more easier because you can document the whole thing and give it to. Simulation is a bit more preparatory in terms of implementation.
It's more preparatory, and it's more like our interview.
Okay.
You have to go with the flow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
you still have an understanding of the theory, but you
Okay.
are also, taking decisions at that point. You are guided by your own personal choices.
Okay.
And you are the avatar of somebody, some leader, and taking decision right there.
So tell me something. So a PhD student who have never thought in their life, just focused on research, right? At least they are primarily 5 years, they are focusing on research kind of work. How do the journey from a researcher to a teacher, or how does that shift happen? Like, for example, to facilitate some of these case studies will require so much of insight into that subject, right?
Yeah.
So how does that journey happens, or how do, what is the key for a faculty to get into that journey? Okay. Is it the learners to be driving it, or because some of these questions they may not even have answers to, and they will not have control over those situations, right? And you can expect a lot of unexpected questions to come out of these discussions. So
absolutely.
What would be the mindset of a faculty when they are starting out in this situation?
I think preparation is the key. That is one. Secondly, since we are living in a very, global kind of a world, I would say, not even a setup, collaboration is required. So if you feel that, there is an institute, or there's a faculty, or there's a group of people who are intensely working on, say, a particular methodology, and you want to imbibe that and use that in the class, collaborate. If I start, now research is a journey that every individual takes, I would not say as a loner, but independently to a great extent. But in case of teaching, a lot of collaboration is required. Everybody is collaborator to the knowledge that you are discussing or trying to arrive at in the class. That is also the case, when you are doing research, because you meet people, you interact with people, you get data, you get input, comments from everyone. But towards the end, you are concluding it, that this is your observation. But the moment you move towards the teaching side, can you say that it is my conclusion and this is the only conclusion? Because we are also not trying to preach, right? So how can we all collaborate? And when I say we, I am also including the learners. I'm also including my seniors, my juniors, other experts. Like you are an expert on campus in our institution. So how do we collaborate with everyone to form that knowledge? So I think that also requires preparation. Inspiration also it requires, because then otherwise, you may get demotivated very easily, that it's not happening, forget it, I will just go to my class
and teach.
Yeah, give lecture, finish my topic, come back.
See, tell me some. Nowadays, we use the word facilitator, right? So that also means that sometimes you as a faculty may not know everything which is happening. Currently, there's so many things happening. Even though how much ever you prepare, there will be that one student who will give that one question which is like surprising. So what is your experience in that, saying that sometimes faculty may not know everything? Right? So how do they deal with in such a scenario?
Simple answer to this question is that you accept that you still don't know everything about that topic.
Correct.
Right? Just like
we don't have to act expert.
Exactly. You don't have to act at all. Now, the great scholars and educators will tell you that in this lifetime, at least, you never become an expert of anything.
That is true.
Right? So not that we are demeaning those who claim to be experts, but can we really become experts? So if we cannot become also, I think it's good to admit in the class and encourage them to also teach me, us, or the educator, right?
Yeah.
What they have discovered about that, new learning, new piece of information. Just like love and happiness, learning can never be absolute. So what is learning for you? Maybe it is not learning for a learner or for a group of learners. So I will again go back to what I said earlier, that collaboration is one
key.
is one way out also for a starter. So you let your learners also collaborate with you, and do not give this impression that I am here to share
teach.
all the gyan, and since I have all the gyan, it is my right to give
And
you
it
all the
becomes
gyan.
so easier for a faculty to also go with the flow,
Go
and
with the
then
flow.
then don't show that you know
Yes,
everything.
yes.
Because I remember this conversation with Professor Vasanthi recently.
Okay.
So it was interesting. I mean, in context to this, right? So she was saying, when I started teaching, I mean,
Yeah.
she's teaching for now around 35 years.
Yeah.
So she's like,
Such a
when I
great academic.
started teaching,
Yeah.
it was like very easy things. So she's like, she had her learning out, whatever you say, no, the structure, the lesson plan, the learning outcome, these are the theories that you need to teach. And she says, now teaching has become very difficult because you realize after 35 years that you don't know much. I mean, in saying that, you need to improvise and prepare, and it's not just theory. I think what she wanted to mention is the experiential part of things. When it is, so it's a combination of structured and experience, and that makes it
so
the
structure,
beautiful.
I think structure and standardized formats to a great extent make things easy for a teacher, because then you don't have to search around.
Interesting.
But is that real learning? And what will it eventually do to our learners? That also we need to keep in mind.
See, we were talking about research and teaching. How do a faculty simplify this? I mean, what are the practical 2 to 3 steps that they need to take to simplify the content that they have learned using research? Because there's just too much content they have.
Yeah.
And you tend to also want to deliver the whole thing.
Okay.
Right? There is this tendency that, oh, I know it so much and my learners should be able to get all this. And there is a thing also to simplify, right? We say that, okay, let's not deliver too much, whatever is the key information that you do. So what is the step that a faculty can take to simplify things?
What they typically do, I will not get into that, because in the course of teaching, they develop their own style of simplifying content. But through our FDPs, we definitely are trying to, teach, not preach, or at least discuss a few possibilities of simplifying, or how content can be simplified. Because maybe the learner is new in the class, and also the teacher is new in the class. So the very basic structure of what, why, how, when simplifies the whole content. When you are a new teacher in the class, instead of being too ambitious that whatever research I have done, I will present it all. Instead of doing that, you break your topic maybe, into these subheads or segments. So what you are going to teach, so what I am going to teach, clearly establish that in the class, that today we are here, or discuss, because we are not
clearly understand what is the outcome,
what
that
is
at least
what are we going to do in the class today. So you start with that today's session will essentially be, or will be largely, about this topic. Then why this topic? Why are we studying it? Now the relevance part can come from the current scenarios, that this is the market trend, or this is happening in the world, or at the global front, or at the national front. You give an explanation, but you have to establish why, so that your learners are now interested in your class. Right? So you have to make it sound relevant, that the topic is so relevant because of these reasons. So what, why always helps. Also, an understanding of how you are going to teach in the class. You will of course not say that this is how I'm going to teach, but you will probably say that how we are all going to create this experience or learning together in the class. Then you will introduce the methodology you have thought of, case teaching or experience, right? So what, why, how becomes very important.
Interesting.
So if you are able to do at least this much, I think as a
So you'll
new
have clarity
faculty,
on what
exactly,
you want to do.
So you may not want to really write it all on a piece of paper, but in your mind, at least, if you have an understanding of these three things, it gives you the confidence to face your
On
learners.
what are you going to do? Why are you doing this? And
how you are
we
planning
connect.
to do it.
Great.
And learners also develop interest in the topic.
Great. So, I mean, can you break down what an FDP is? I mean, we keep using this word. Many of them don't know what faculty development program. So, how is it structured? How much duration is it? And can you break it down a bit for us?
Okay. So, a lot of times, faculty development programs are also called faculty enrichment programs.
Okay.
And when we say development or even enrichment, we are acknowledging the fact that they already have knowledge, they are already experienced, but maybe they need some support or help to understand what else is happening in the larger or broader educational ecosystem. And that is why we don't project it as a rigid course, as a rigid program. We also don't keep the topics and the sessions very flexible and informal in nature. But the idea is not to tell them that you are not at all aware of these topics. The idea is to tell them that you are already doing it all in the class. We are here to help you understand what else has come into the picture when you look at probably any of the methodologies, philosophies of teaching, etc. And that's why we call it enrichment. That's why we call it development.
Okay.
So development would essentially mean that you are at a stage, and from one stage to next stage, you are moving, and there is a support system.
Sure.
Right? How we learn to walk. You have a young boy, so you must have seen the boy developing into, from a toddler to a boy.
Correct.
So how one part of the body he uses to take support to stand a little more,
Correct.
maybe for a longer period. So, and then if the boy falls, you come into the picture and then again help him.
So it's not
stand.
teaching them what to do again. It is a support system for a faculty to enhance their skill from where they are. So many people would be at different levels also, and then you will kind of help them go. So what is the duration? How many members? What is the age group?
It really depends on the hosting institution's capacity to run a particular cohort size. Now, since we are at IIMB focusing a lot on participant-centric learning, whatever is the profile of the participants, of the learners, we try to stick to smaller cohort sizes for FDPs. That may not be the case with the executive programs, but in our case, FDPs are firstly 3-day or 5-day kind of programs, and the cohort size, it varies, but we don't keep it large. We try to stay between 25 to 50. I mean, 50 is also a big number for us.
And the level of faculties will be same or different?
That again varies.
It varies.
Yeah, it varies. So we have been doing a program for the doctoral scholars, senior doctoral scholars. We like to call them as, budding teachers or educators. We are doing programs for entry-level educators who are new in academia. We are also doing programs for the faculty members who have already spent, say, about a decade in the industry and now looking at higher roles in higher educational institutions. So then you are not only looking at effective teaching, but you are also looking at administration. We are also going to do a prestigious program with the Ministry of Education called Academic Leadership Program, where we will be having the institutional heads as the participants.
That's interesting. So, how does a day look like? I mean, the usual, this is all, the Ministry of Education is also FDP? Is it part of?
This is not an FDP, but this is more for those institutional heads who have been running their institutions successfully.
That's
Maybe,
another level of skills.
Yeah, exactly. But maybe it is also the time for them to come together and discuss best practices.
As an institution, what are the
Yes,
things that they
yes,
can
yes.
do to enhance,
Yeah,
build
yeah.
some of the structured things?
So now I think you can place the whole journey before you of an educator. So you start as an individual, right? And then you keep on collaborating, and you realize that to make teaching effective, some institutional changes are also required. And then you start acquiring chairperson's role. We have such wonderful chairpersons. You start acquiring dean's roles, right? Vertical heads roles. And then once that phase is over, you may also acquire the role of an institutional head.
And
So
the skills are varying from, you are
exactly,
moving from somebody who is teaching to actually a chairperson.
It all started with
management.
research, but you see where it's leading towards, right?
So
You
research
are
to teaching to
becoming an effective
manager to kind of
administrator also.
And then eventually when you're a head, you're really an administrative role. And then you can bring all these theories into the institutional.
Exactly. So maybe in a more formalized way. Because you have been through that whole journey of teaching, of assessing people, of guiding new educators as dean maybe. And now you are looking at the growth of your institution.
Interesting.
So that also becomes important in the whole journey of an educator.
When these faculties come, what are the common questions they ask you? I mean, like you would have seen this pattern repeating again and again, right? So what are the most common questions that they ask you when they are coming for this FTP program?
So class sizes is a major concern for most of our faculty members, for most of our educational institutions at the school and also at the higher educational level. And so a lot of things that we are discussing may become or may sound very ambitious in nature.
Class size in the sense to define
our class sizes are very big. I mean, when
what
we
is
go
the usual
back
class size as of now in the higher
50,
education?
60, 70 also. And then you are talking about incorporating experiential learning. It may
quite
become
challenging.
Chaotic.
What is the ideal number according to you? I mean, for at least the minimum ideal scenario?
I would like to stick to the cohort size we prefer for our FDPs, which is essentially between 25 to 30, 35.
Is a number one faculty will be able to comprehend the number of learners that is there. What any recommendation if there is larger cohort size to divide them into groups, or do you do something
done,
like that?
But you also end up having more groups. And as an educator, it also becomes your responsibility to observe every group. You cannot just let them be on their own and just figure out things on their own and conclude anything. That conclusion may also require your input, your valuable input, a faculty's valuable input. So even when you divide them into groups for some of these ambitious methodologies, you may still want to observe the groups. You may still want to observe participation of every group member.
Which is a bit challenging.
So the question for them or before them is that how do they really make it all applicable once they go back to their classrooms, once they go back to their institutions, and make it a regular feature of, or an integral part of their teaching learning practices. That is a common question we always get, and we also do not have answers because you cannot tell institutions to reduce class sizes. You are also guided by a lot of government norms, right? And of course, our goal is also to reach out to more number of educators to give the opportunity to learn and educate themselves. We want to open it up for larger. Yes. You can't say that our institution only takes 20 in a particular batch. So you are guided by a lot of institutional norms, government norms. So application becomes challenging, and that is a major question which we get from most of our participants.
Okay. I just wanted to dwell into learners, right? Current learners, young learners, they are quite, I mean, of course, every generation differs from
Yeah.
their learning style keeps changing.
Yes.
Have you observed any major shift, especially in terms of nowadays technology has gone quite forward?
Yeah.
So, have you seen a major shift? And of course, attention span, people are more into reels now, which is more short-term based content. So, how do you see a change in learning behavior in the, or is it remain same? I don't know. But
Okay.
is there a
Yeah.
change that you see within learners with this generation over the previous generation?
I think not only learners, I mean, if you put even us, in that bracket, because we are all learning all the time.
Correct.
We are looking at faster outcomes,
Hmm.
immediate outcomes. That becomes then a matter of worry for any education system. And that is happening because things are so readily available in today's time. So, on one hand, we know that we have to also make things accessible for everybody. I mean, content, learning content, or pieces of information, knowledge, all of that. But since there is no restriction around that, like who should have access to what content at what stage of learning, you know what I'm trying to say? Uh, it is available to everybody. And so, before a lecturer or a faculty can arrive at the learning conclusion, the learner has already arrived.
They are fast tracking.
They are, yeah. So, I think if there can be some regulation over there, which you and your team, does wonderfully, like, you take them through various stages of learning, and you, reveal things gradually.
Correct.
Right? That is a challenge when you deal with real life classrooms, because then everything is available to everybody. Also, the other kinds of online platforms that are available can provide just anything on a platter, right? Just because somebody has made a particular
So, how do we
payment.
make sure that they are actually learning, right? I mean, that is a challenge that I think we all will be facing in the coming times, where because of AI and technology, where they are able to produce this content, what is requested, without actually learning, right? I mean, so I think the experience learning, or you were saying you will measure
Could
the
be,
effort. Those things will become more relevant in the coming days than actually just producing the output.
But you would still not want to remove, formal assessments completely. So maybe some percentage of, overall assessment can be kept for such observations. And then your students, and I mean our learners, will get this message also that even this holds importance. And so I must participate. And so I must at least try thinking out of the box.
Okay.
If you do not give scores, or if you do not give your qualitative remarks that, hey, you have done well, and I was observing you all, and your participation reflected this, it will only motivate them. But if we do not do anything with whatever they are making in the class as part of the experiential learning, they will never find it important. And just for fun, maybe they will participate, but after going back, they will all start mugging up, or working hard just to get those scores. So like you said, observe your learners. Observation is the key. But after observation, what you should do, you have to also tell in the class what you observed. You saw the student participating, you saw another student doing something else in the class, you saw one backbencher. I mean, we shouldn't call them backbencher, because nowadays, we do rotational seating arrangement. But anyway, somebody who is probably quiet in the class, but is opening his or her mouth just to ask that one thought-provoking question. You have to acknowledge
Got
that. So these are a few things which could provide some solution. But the major challenge is, of course, this, readily available content. That is really
Everything is
worrying.
now available in the
Yeah,
internet, and
yeah,
AI can
yeah.
produce
That
nowadays
wow
all the
factor, which we used to have when
Ah.
we used to enter our classes, that today something new we are going to discuss or learn. That
That
is,
becomes more challenging for the faculty also
faculty
to
also.
nowadays to bring the wow
Yeah,
factors
yeah.
into
You
the class.
can't go wrong. You can't say something which is not a popular opinion
Okay.
on various platforms. That also becomes difficult then for a
Interesting.
faculty to establish that the popular opinion may not be the right opinion.
Got it.
So these are a few challenges.
Great. I think so. As part of the first part, we focused on
Yes.
learning. I think we went into learning experience and things like that. So maybe in the second part of the video, we can go more into the difference that you have seen between faculty teaching offline and online.
Sure.
So we'll make it as part of part 2. Any final conclusion in terms of learning that you want to give one faculty if they are starting to teach, and to bring this learning experience, one thing that they should be doing, right?
So I am a little philosophical person, and I think I look at everything which eventually merges with the larger existence, right? And my tip also would be around that.
Okay.
So I want to say that the moment you realize that we are all at different learning journeys, and the purpose of our learning journeys also is going to be different. And the same amount of learning is around us. It's just that what, as a learner, we are deciding to choose or pick for ourselves. With that understanding, if we teach in the classes, we are more authentic and we are not preachy. So these are the two things which I think every educator must understand, that you have to be authentic. But then you come back to the real world, and then you understand that preparation is also needed.
Okay.
Right? And good preparation will make you more authentic. Because the more you prepare, you realize that there is more to a topic. And it cannot be understood just by reading a few research papers or working papers or books, readings, etc. So understanding that we need to be authentic, understanding that we are all a part of the larger ecosystem, and the same piece of knowledge or pieces of knowledge are present around us. Learners and us may differ in terms of what we are going to pick for our learning journey, and remain grounded, still keep preparing.
Great.
That should be the key.
I think it was really great having this conversation. Many of the time we don't speak about our experience,
Yes.
about what we are working. At least for me, the takeaway definitely was, as a teacher, your focus should be on learning. I mean, that you mentioned multiple times, that the focus is not on teaching, but on learning. But also moving away from preaching to, we tend to preach, but also to
constructing
more
or co-constructing knowledge.
This one. And also the importance of collaboration, and not that you know everything at all, in the fact, and also the fact that you can collaborate and maybe build that experience. And the final one would be that it's a balance between structured learning environment and pathway, where you will have your assessment, exams and all that, but combining with those experiences, case studies and things like that will give you an overall feel of what learning looks like. Yes. Thank you so much, Lopa. I think it was wonderful.
Pleasure. Happy to see that we eventually collaborated.
Yes.
Wonderful experience.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Phone, I kept it there.
मेरा तो network ही नहीं है. But I'll just.
Yeah.
एक बार देख लें कि how it appears.
No, it's okay.
I was looking everywhere.
No, this is fine.
Okay.
We'll switch to online teaching, but if you want a break, we can continue.
We can continue.
All right.
everything is fine. Oh, अच्छा. God, look at it.
That he will do also.
हाँ, ठीक है. ये वाला ठीक है? हाँ, because मुझे ना बिल्कुल ही I thought I'll make some excuse and I'll tell कि आज से trial करते हैं.
Doesn't work.
Yeah. EP से बोल रहे हैं कि मैम today you are not wearing jewelry. ऐसे देख ले. आज यही आएगा screen पे अब जो भी आएगा. We can do part 2 also of this, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yay! It was
See?
great.
It was easy, no?
It was easy, yeah.